way to describe actions which is used in English and which is seriously quite unique. The problem with phrasal verbs is you usually have a list. You don't know why they are so different from everything you are used to. And of course, you have a lot of questions and you don't know whom to ask, right? So today I will be answering the question, what is a phrasal verb? Why do we need it in English? What is the best strategy to learn phrasal verbs to speak English more naturally? Yeah, you can't do without phrasal verbs in speaking. You never use them in writing. This is the first rule which you need to remember. You can't use them. Well, yes, we have some academic phrasal verbs so called. For example, we say to carry out some research, yeah, in academic English. But generally, you need to use full verbs, okay, in writing, and you need to use phrasal verbs in speaking when you are describing everyday things. Well, first of all, what is a phrasal verb? Well, you all know verbs, right? Do, make, speak, listen, jump, understand, and so on and so on. I'm just checking, yeah, okay. It looks you can hear me, okay. And these verbs can be used in different types of combinations. And not all these combinations are phrasal verbs. For example, verbs can be used with prepositions. When you are saying, I'm getting out of the car, okay? To get out of the car, yeah, we have a verb get and we have a preposition out. But to get, to move, yeah, from one location to another location. It is, in the dictionary, it is one of the main meanings for this verb, okay? Out of, it is the preposition of movement, yeah, the preposition of direction. If you don't know much about the prepositions, you should go to our Skillshare page, and we have recorded a new course about prepositions. You can watch it there. So, we have the direct meaning of the verb, we have the direct meaning of the preposition, we are describing an action in some direction. This is a simple thing. The direct meaning, I'm sure you use the verbs in the same way in your own language. Okay? Good. So, it's not an example of the phrasal verb. Another situation. Imagine that you want to say, I'm listening to music, and I hope you say it this way, because English students often forget about this preposition, and they're trying to say, I'm listening music, and it's not exactly correct. Yes, this too is not translated to other languages, but it's just there. And you need to remember that after some verbs, you need to use some prepositions without actually changing any meaning. They are just where. They are just there, okay? This is, for example, depend on, yeah, it depends on me. This is, for example, yeah, listen to music, wait for somebody, think of moving somewhere, and so on and so on. This thing is impossible to understand. You just need to remember, and we have a, by the way, yeah, it's funny. We have a class about it too. When we finish with this video, I will give you a link to our Skillshare profile, and you will find a course about dependent preposition there too. So you can use this link and watch our courses. They are about 1 hour long, and learn grammar this practical way. Yeah, you can watch it on the phone, you can watch it on the computer. So Skillshare is a good place to find our courses because we have 22 programs there at the moment. Good. But again, it's not a phrasal verb because it is the dependent preposition which doesn't influence the main meaning of the verb. Okay? But what is? So I've been speaking so long, about the thing which is not a phrasal verb. The phrasal verb, it is the combination of a verb with a preposition which completely changes the meaning of the both verb and the preposition. For example, I want to take get by. Get by, if you watched the lesson about the levels of speaking English, we had this phrase, I can get by in English. It means that you can survive a simple conversation. Get by, it means to be able to deal with some situation. You see that it doesn't have a typical meaning for get, because get, it is either to receive something or to move in some direction. So to survive is not connected with the direct meaning of the verb to get, right? But using it with this preposition by has changed its meaning completely, okay? And they can only be used together to mean this thing. We can't separate them if you want to say about survival, okay? And they have one accent. So we don't pronounce them separately, get by. No, it's get by, okay? The accent usually goes to the second part of the verb, but they are one thing. So now it is not a verb and some preposition, okay, connected to something else, but they live together. And this is very important, and this serves several things. For example, when you change the stages of the action, for example, when you start and finish something, not to, we don't have so many verbs in our language, and sometimes it's just a shorter way to say it, because many verbs came to English from different languages, and right now I don't know, in the past they didn't sound natural, they were too formal, they were the language of documents, of law, and so on and so on. So in everyday life we prefer something closer to us, something more habitual, if you like. And in this case, phrasal verbs usually describe everyday simple things, not connected with some formalities. So get up, wake up, grow up, about becoming an adult, make up a story. So everyday stuff, simple stuff. That's why not all English verbs have, or they don't have them, have form. Not all English verbs can become a part of the phrasal verb. It's mostly everyday verbs, such as go, get, come, put, take. All these verbs which, they are a part of the top 1,000, 2,000 most popular English verbs, And this is what makes it so difficult. You need to remember not just numerous situations of how these verbs are used on a regular basis, but you need to add some new meanings, okay, when these verbs become a part of the phrasal verb. So basically, the phrasal verb, which is the combination of the verb with the preposition, which is called an adverbial when it is a part of the phrasal verb, and they form a unity and they start meaning a new thing. And because it is so difficult to understand what they mean, because they are not connected to their everyday meanings, and because they are there are so many of them, because we want to describe our everyday life with the help of them, I seriously recommend you to understand what type of meaning phrasal verbs represent and how it is shown in your own language. I always recommend to study phrasal verbs with your native teacher, because there is a high chance that the native teacher will be able to explain to you what part of grammar is represented by phrasal verbs, okay, comparing to your native language. Otherwise, you will have just a list of words, a list of verbs which you need to memorize, and memorizing doesn't work well for everyday context. Yeah, I'm sure you know that, because, our memory is not endless. And some phrasal verbs are better to be remembered with the translation to your own language. Yes, I know, probably you've heard, and many teachers say that it's better to learn English without translating, but sometimes translation helps. Because if you really can feel the difference, okay, between different combinations and between different phrasal verbs with the help of translation, yes, it's a good idea. Sometimes phrasal verbs are impossible to translate because they could mean something very, very small, some small aspect of some particular action, and in this way you will remember it better from English. You will remember, for example, that it doesn't exist in your own language. It is also a good way to memorize something. You either compare it with your language or you remember it as something opposing to your own language. Don't be afraid to translate at some stage, okay, because you need to understand the difference between the systems. Once you've understood the difference between the systems, you will remember the English structures better, okay, because you will understand where they stand. Okay, the next step. If you were not presented phrasal verbs at the very beginning of your course, because I really think that you need to learn them as soon as possible. Don't put it off. Don't postpone it. Put it off. Don't postpone it till the later moment. I mean, okay, I will now speak in simple words, okay, but then I will start learning phrasal verbs later. It doesn't work like that, because some important things, for example, the prefixes in your language, should be understood and should be learned from the very beginning. Well, the question is how to learn them. And people say, well, I need to use the app, I need to remember as many phrasal verbs as possible, and, well, step by step, they will start coming to my memory. No, it doesn't work like that. The first thing, you are trying to learn phrasal verbs in situations, okay? I think the most useful materials you could find online about learning the phrasal verbs, it is the materials, for example, phrasal verbs about telephoning. It is the most popular episode of my podcast, Figure Out English, because people understand the connection. This is the real thing they need to describe, and it's easier to remember when it is connected to some real thing which you need to describe. Okay? Some people try to learn phrasal verbs by the verb. For example, all the phrasal verbs for get, or all the phrasal verbs for come. Well, from my experience, it doesn't work at all, because they are all similar, they all look similar, there are similar meanings for them, and people get so confused and get so frustrated, and it feels that they will never learn it. Okay? I don't recommend learning phrasal verbs by a verb. It's not a good way. Okay? Learn them by situations. For example, phrasal verbs about, work, phrasal verbs about traveling, and so on and so on. Sometimes people ask, is there any kind of system around the phrasal verbs? Are they organized by some logic? Unfortunately, I can't say that they are. So they appeared, in speaking spontaneously. based on different situations, and unfortunately we can't say that this means that, and this is how you form the phrasal verbs. I have tried to establish some kind of a system about the meaning of the phrasal verbs grouped by the adverbial, by the preposition. So for some verbs it will work, okay? When you add up to a group of verbs, it will mean a similar thing. We will try to do that, but I really want you guys to understand that it is not absolute. I'm trying to make your life easier a little bit, but well, it doesn't work for all the phrasal verbs, unfortunately. Okay, so up often shows the complete transformation from one state to another. Okay, for example, when you say wake up, it means that you were asleep several minutes ago and now you are awake. So you moved from one state to another state. You completed the transformation. Suit up, yeah, a very popular phrase from this TV show How I Met Your Mother, and watching TV shows certainly helps with the phrasal verbs because they use a lot of them, right? Suit up, so you need to get dressed beautifully, yeah, you need to look good. So put your clothes on, get dressed completely, okay? And this will mean that we are ready for our adventures. For example, grow up. Grow up has nothing to do with the physical growing, and people forget about that very often. So grow up means to become an adult emotionally, okay? They say children grow up very fast. It means they become adults. They become their own people very soon. So people grow fast if you want to show the change in heights, but people grow up fast. It means that they become other people, yeah, all their own people, we can say. So basically, yes, this up in many verbs, okay, will be showing some kind of the complete transformation to make up a story. Yeah, to make a new story, to make up a story, and so on and so on. Down is a tricky verb, but it somehow shows the movement to something, okay? So for example, when you shut something down, okay, you close it and you move to another thing. Or for example, when you get down to business, yeah, it means you start working. For example, we had a break at our workplace, and right now, like, okay, let's get down to business. Or when you start a meeting, yeah, it was a chit chat, it was a small talk. Okay, let's get down to business. Yeah, so down means the movement. Okay, moving somewhere. Some kind of this meaning. Well, it's quite easy with the adverbials back and away because they are not so far away from their basic meanings. Okay, so back will mostly mean to return somewhere. So to get back, yeah, to return, to answer back. Yeah, children often answer back these days. It means that you told them something, you gave them a lecture, you wanted to teach them something, and they start saying something to you. They don't want to listen to you, yeah? It means answer back. And you see in all this, yeah, for example, I don't know, pull back, yeah, and so on and so on. In all these verbs with back, actually you will see this character of the return movement. It's quite typical. This is quite an easy group of verbs. Around is very good one. Because we say around, when we describe movements without some particular directions, okay? So when you walk around the city, in this particular phrase, it is the preposition of direction. Yeah, walk around. But you can use around with other verbs describing something undirected, something unplanned. You know, for example, when you run around, it means that you can't get down to any particular action. It's like, stop running around. Yeah, you don't do anything. You are just moving and in chaos somehow, yeah? And for example, we can say to move around. It is about the people who change the place of their residence very often. So my father, no, not my, but I'm giving you the example. My father was in the army, so we had to move around often, right? Again, you don't describe any particular direction, you just moved a lot, so to say. Okay, and away, so means from here, somewhere from here. Yeah, and in this case you will have different meanings somehow connected with this from here. Yeah, for example, to get away means to escape. From here, yes, he got away from prison, yeah? Or for example, he got away from that relationship. This is more not a physical movement, yeah, it is the emotional one, so he decided to end this relationship. But again, you have this element, he got away from me, from our relationship, yeah, something like that. Not a positive thing, but still. Blow away, it is about something beautiful impressing you so much, yeah, you have blown my head away. Again, we often show it, yeah, so it's about this emotional feeling when you are lost with excitement, yes, with the admiration, you feel so good about something, yes, I'm blown away. Again, we have this character, this movement, yeah, from here. And off will mean to remove, okay, to move from here again, so to remove, to take it away, yes, so just off. So how is it different from away? Yeah, so away it is from here, but off it's not longer here, something like that. We could say that they are actually similar, yeah. For example, when you put the meeting off, yeah, let's put it off till tomorrow, it means that you are moving it to the later time. When you say call off, you completely cancel the meeting. Again, you are moving it from the moment right now, yeah. You can say cut off when you, I don't know, like cut off something completely. So again, the movement, the meaning of complete action, the finished action, the completed action. And yes, if you start researching that, you will find that phrasal verbs very often show the completeness of the action. Again, because of the confusing verb tense system in English, we don't always understand the stages. Yeah, I mean, when we started doing the action, we can describe processes, but we don't always describe the completeness very clearly in English. And in this way, phrasal verbs serve a good, do a good job. And they often describe emotional things. Yeah, so we don't have such physical words for these meanings, and that's why we need to use the phrasal verbs. That's why, again, I will repeat it again, a productive approach is to learn phrasal verbs about emotions, about fear, yes, about excitement and so on in topical groups instead of the lists, because word lists don't work. They don't help you. They only overwhelm you, and they make you feel hopeless because it seems that it is so much to learn. Okay? When you do it in step by step, topic after topic, it's actually helping. Well, I tried to do my best in 30 minutes. It's been 30 minutes. Yes, there are some structural things to discuss, and I have a couple of other lessons about phrasal verbs planned in my mind, and I hope I will teach them soon. And don't forget that our podcast, Figure Out English, is created specially for those who want to improve their vocabulary, and some of the lessons are made about phrasal verbs in particular, okay? We already talked about telephony phrasal verbs, we already talked about phrasal verbs about learning, about success, and so on and so on. So the best idea is to go to our website, stordar, stordar.com, find the podcast on the website, subscribe for the updates, and listen to the podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you have any questions about this general information about phrasal verbs, please write them in the comments, and please come to the next classes. I teach classes in English on this particular page, Smart English Learning, every other week, okay? And if you speak Russian, you can the next week you can find the live video lessons on our Russian page, Учим английский по-умному, and I promise I will be talking about phrasal verbs in Russian too, because I told you today that at some stage in your English education it is really important to compare the grammar of phrasal verbs with the system of your own language, to move away and to start speaking English without translating in your head. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in 2 weeks.